Hey guys, it's Landon from RH. This is the second or third video I'm doing that shows you just kind of how I vibe code in Windsurf. So I've been working on a little demo application for two new custom Tkinter components. One is a ribbon component and one is a graph navigator. So what we did in the last video is we had the ribbon working pretty good. I haven't tested it with icons yet. We'll do that with some Google solid black Google material icons. But I'm going to save that for now. I want to get a working graph navigator component before I go back in and worry about an icon, a ribbon based on icons. So what I want to do in this video is test some of our ribbon functionality. So we ended up, and I didn't know this when we did the original design, we just had to learn it through experimentation, but we realized we needed what we call button layout groups to kind of make the buttons more organized on the ribbon, uniform sizing. So we need to test all that functionality. And then the other thing I want to do is I want to see if we can whip up a little tool in Python where you give it a simple text file describing the buttons you need in your ribbon, and it will create the button layout groups for you based on what fits best and works with the structure that you need. I think we can do that without even any AI functionality. And then we want to make sure that we have, the import-export functionality for the ribbon XML works, and it works with our button layout groups. So what I did when I ended my last session, and you guys didn't see this in the video, is I had it create my initial prompt for the next coding session because I needed to reboot my computer. And that's something I've just started doing in the last few days, and it's super helpful. So you just tell it, create me the initial, here's what I want to work on next in our next coding session. Create me an initial prompt to start that coding session, and it does that, which is super cool. So that's been helpful. I was writing those kind of initial prompts by hand, and then I realized I could just have Cascade write its next prompt for me. And I just keep an initial prompt markdown document in my docs folder. So we'll copy that and we'll just paste it in here to Cascade. So this is asking it to basically set up the more comprehensive testing. Okay, so it says, all right, I'm going to go ahead and create the comprehensive test. So I'm going to let it do that, run the tests, fix the test failures. While it's running, I'll pause the video, and then I'll unpause it when we talk a little bit more about the tool we want to create button groups and make sure that the import-export function from ribbon XML is working. Okay guys, I'm checking in here right before I go to the gym. So I've been working on this ribbon. I was trying to get some testing done. It had a really hard time. And sometimes this is why you need a human in the loop, right? These tools aren't perfect yet. So the test kept hanging. I couldn't figure out why. Make a long story short, it didn't properly use the model view controller pattern like I told it. So we were our code was too tightly integrated with the GUI widgets and Tkinter, and the tests were failing. So you can see, I beat on this thing for a couple hours. But here's what I told it. We shouldn't be testing actual GUI widgets. We should only be testing the ribbon model and controller. That's why we use MVC architecture in the first place. If we need to, we can create a layout engine for testing that calculates the pixel positions of the ribbon components, refactor our tests based on this, use mocks where needed. It did some work on that, but it still was having trouble. So then I said I had to give it some more explicit instruction. Hey, we need to separate the ribbon view class from the ribbon model class and the ribbon controller class. Then we can test everything in the model and controller. We can mock the view for our test. The view mock can calculate pixel positions of ribbon elements and can simulate events. Does that make sense? It said, yeah, it did that. So it's just telling me here. So it says ribbon.py has been created with the correct refactored code. It had some imports and stuff to fix. So it says, hey, I did that. We've now refactored the ribbon component, resolving the critical issue of the hanging tests and significantly improving the project's architecture. So it says, here's what we did. That's great. All the ribbon tests pass now. So I'm going to say, please update the changelog. So we'll update the changelog with our changes. and then I'm going to give it the next task here before I go to the gym. So while it's doing that, I can come in here and type our next task. Okay, so we're going to say, I want to make sure our button group layouts and the related rules are supported in the ribbon XML input and output that we use to store ribbons to disk. I also want to have a separate TOML configuration that contains rules about standard, I'm going to say guidelines, standard ribbon button dimensions. So we're working on what information needs to be stored to disk to properly load a ribbon. This includes maximum button widths, maximum button width height ratios. Let's see, there was something else. And use of tool tips. I'm going to say yes or no for buttons with truncated text. Let's implement this functionality and then test it. Okay. Ooh. All right, so it says, so I don't know why Windsurf has this problem, but it can't write to an empty file. So I have to put placeholder text in the changelog. I don't know why it does that. Excuse me. So you just have to add placeholder text. Okay guys, so we got the changelog updated. So I'm going to go ahead and paste in this next prompt about the input output of the ribbon structure in the button rules to an XML file and a TOML configuration file. So it's reading all that, it's thinking about it. We'll see what it says here. Okay, so it's telling me its plan. It's going to create a TOML configuration. It's going to update the controller to read the TOML. It's going to update the XML logic. It's going to add tests. Okay, so this is great. So I'm going to let it run. I'll do one more update for this video when this is done, once the tests pass, and then we'll work next on the graph component, the graph navigator component. Okay guys, I'm not sure exactly where I'm at in these videos, so bear with me. So I went ahead, I just got done running some tests. And what we've done now successfully with our ribbon widget is we have a configuration file now that takes some of the layout constraints, so maximum button width and button height, that kind of thing. And we also updated the XML, basically reading and writing the XML file, the ribbon XML file, to support button layout groups. So those will store now and persist, and both of those things work together. And we've tested both of them, the updated XML reading and writing and the TOML configuration. So basically, we now have ribbons that will persist, which is important. So I'm going to do one more thing before we start working on the graph navigator widget, because it needs a lot of love. I'm going to just whip up a little utility here for the ribbon. So I'm going to try and think about how to say this. I'd like a little Python tool that takes a simple text file of buttons for a ribbon and automatically creates the ribbon XML file, selecting the appropriate button group layouts based on the number of buttons. And each panel of the widget, of the ribbon. Here is what the text file might look like. So then we'll give it some examples. So we'll say graph navigation. Sorry, I said graphy. So this is what would be input to the tool. So then we'll say forward a node, backward a node, to the root node. Say go to root node. And then we'll say zoom. Say zoom in. Zoom out. Zoom extents. And then we'll have maybe one more. We'll say selection. We'll say select center node. Select connected nodes. Select all nodes shown. And then clear selection. We'll say clear selection. And maybe we'll have one more. Save selection. I just realized these need 2 dashes. Nope. So then we'll say list items with 1 dash are a ribbon panel. List items with 2 dashes are buttons. I'd like a simple GUI tool with Tkinter and TTK Bootstrap that has a text area where the input can be pasted or typed. A text widget that previews generated XML and a button to save the generated ribbon XML. All right. It should, oh yeah, so we need to do something with the ribbon tab. So let's do, so let's say that ribbon tabs are in square brackets. All right. So brackets. So let's see what this gives us. We'll see. I have no idea what's going to happen here. I'm going to have some idea. Let's see how it does. All right. So it says, okay, I'm going to create a parser. I'm going to select the best button group layout. And then I'm going to build the GUI that has the different widgets. And then I'm going to link up the parser and the GUI. So this is perfect. So we'll let this run, and then I'll unpause the video and we'll see how the GUI looks. Okay, guys, I just want to show you here. So this works. This is the little graphical tool. It actually works. I had to do a little bit of work with the unit test, but I got them working. So we can actually change this if we want. So we can add a new ribbon tab. So we'll just call it graph crud. And then, so this is like basic database operations. So we can say basic operations. Maybe we have add triple, delete triple, guess if we're going to do CRUD, we should use the CRUD words, huh? So create triple, remove triple, update triple. I can't remember what the other one is. Create, remove, update. But let me see if I can. Let's see, what are they? CRUD. Create, update. Oh, read. So we don't need read. Okay. So let's see, do we want anything else here? Let's put another one here. We'll just put compare triples. Okay, so we're going to hit generate XML. We should see that added. Okay, so here it did, added a new tab, and you can see it automatically selected a button group for those 4 buttons. So it did a 4 quad. So yeah, this tool works. Could probably get tweaked a little bit, but I like it. I'm happy with it. So I'm about done, I think, with the initial work on the ribbon control. And there might, we might tweak that a little. I want to make sure it's really usable as a separate widget. You can import the library, just use that as a widget outside of this application. And I want to test it with some icons instead of text labels. So we'll try that. But the next video, we're going to get in and we're going to work on that graph navigation widget. So we'll do a few videos on that probably. So thanks for watching.